Every Jewish chapel or sanctuary in the world has a menorah in it. You may recall the menorah in our sanctuary, the beautiful wooden menorah made of little interlocking circular pieces of wood. Where is the menorah in the chapel? Anybody see it? Stained glass? Somewhere. It's like, where is God? Everywhere, somewhere. In fact, the menorah is built into the ark. You see, these golden branches are carved into the ark's marble. Pretty smart, pretty smart. And the architects of this building wrote that, by the way, the ark doors were taken from the original temple, the last temple at Poplar in Montgomery. Those of you who grew up at Temple may remember that in the old building. The architects of this new building wrote that the act of carrying our holy ark from one house of worship to another recalls the journeys of our ancient ancestors who carried the tabernacle, who carried the portable sanctuary with them wherever they wandered in the desert. And in the tabernacle, in the very first temple, there too was a menorah, which we read about this week in our Torah portion, Baha'alotecha. Say that 5 times fast. In this Torah portion, God commands Aaron to kindle the menorah's lights for the very first time. The ancient menorah was to light up the holiest part of the tabernacle. But many rabbinic commentators struggle with this idea. Why does God, the source of light, remember we said at the beginning of services, Vayehi or, let there be light, and there was light. So the rabbis ask, why does God need us, human beings, to kindle these lights? One answer is that it's not for God, but it's for us. Keeping the menorah lit is a constant reminder of God's presence in our lives. We read in our Torah portion as well this week that when the Israelites traveled throughout the wilderness, God's presence was with them in the form of a cloud by day and a fire by night, which, by the way, are evoked in these 2 columns, the cloud by day and a fire by night in our tapestry. You're learning so much about the chapel tonight. But the lighting of the menorah, it adds another dimension, a human element. It's not just that God was resting, choosing to rest in the company of the Israelites, but the menorah adds a human dimension. We see God's presence in our lives only when we make an effort, only when we are God's partner in creating that light. And what is the way that our tradition teaches that we can be God's partner? By doing mitzvot, by caring for others, by helping out with what Rabbi Danziger called God's unfinished business. We are God's partner in creating light when we visit someone sick or in the hospital, when we donate to a needy cause, when we feed the hungry, when we call an elderly or a widowed relative. Anyone, all of us, have been sick or lonely or bereaved, and we all know that those little acts of chesed bring us so much light. And when we engage in those acts of love and kindness, we give meaning to that line from Proverbs, Ner Adonai Nishmat Adam, that the soul of a human being is like a candle to God. When we give from the depths of our soul, when we share part of our soul with another person, that is how we truly bring light to God. By doing mitzvot, by doing these loving deeds, we don't just bring light to God. They also help us uncover the hidden holiness inside each of us. The Hasidic masters, the rabbis, actually call that piece of divinity implanted inside each person a nitzotz, a spark. The Sfat Emet, one of my favorite rabbis, 19th century rabbi from modern-day Ukraine, he taught that, quote, doing a mitzvah is like lighting a candle before God, but it's also preparing a place inside of each of us where God's presence can dwell. By means of this, he says, you enliven your soul, the candle. The more light a person brings about in physical darkness, the more that one will enlighten one's soul from God's light. I saw a joke this week on a rabbi's Instagram where he was pretending that a congregant came to him for spiritual guidance and said to the rabbi, Rabbi, I can't stop kvetching. I can't stop being negative. And the rabbi said, have you noshed today? The rabbi said, have you shaken your tuchus today? Have you studied Torah lately? He said. When is the last time you gave tzedakah? When is the last time you did something nice for someone else? Helping other people, helping ourselves to grow spiritually and intellectually enables us to rid ourselves of inner darkness and reveals our own inner light. But actions, doing good deeds, they're not the only way to grow our inner light. Rabbi Meir Soloveitchik notes that the menorah in the tabernacle, with its many branches and petals lit up with light, is reminiscent of the burning bush. He says it may in fact be a direct symbol, a direct replica of the burning bush. And a midrash you might be familiar with teaches that many other people walked right by the burning bush before Moses did, and that Moses was chosen to be our leader precisely because he was the first one to notice it. How much holiness do we miss out on? Because we are always distracted by looking down at our cell phones, always too caught up with whatever we have to do, that it obscures the beauty in the world around us. In order to sense and to grow our inner light, we don't always have to act to do good deeds. Sometimes we just have to be aware of the holiness, the blessings, the abundance that are around us all the time. When we are like Moses, when we cultivate the presence of mind to notice the magic of a tree rustling in the wind, the warmth that we get from the company or the conversation of a friend, the blessings we take for granted, the blessings of health, of another day in this short, too short adventure that we call life. We notice and we grow the inner light inside of our soul. This lamp, the Ner Tamid, it literally means the eternal lamp. It never goes off. And the rabbis teach that inside each eternal lamp is the very same light that Aaron kindled in the ancient menorah. It reminds us of God's constant presence, God's eternal connection to the Jewish people, and that in every moment, at all times, we can sense the holiness and the light in the world and in the people around us, if only we're present enough to see it. So may this Shabbat, the longest and the lightest day of the year, help us to sense and to cultivate that light. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will.